Saurus warriors are the brutal, roaring heart of the Seraphon armies. Bred solely for war, these warriors are feared for unleashing their cold-blooded savagery. And in this video, we'll be painting a Saurus warrior alpha in just 8 paints, so you can get the unit ready to join their kin in battle. We'll be starting by undercoating our model, and for this we have used Wraithbone. This gives our cold-blooded warrior here a slightly warmer tone, but light enough for the contrast paints we'll be using. It's always a good idea to have a pot of Wraithbone to hand too, just to tidy up any mistakes we make along the way. Those 8 paints we are using are on the screen right now. You'll also be needing a pot of contrast medium if you have it to hand. If you are new to painting or want to know about the paints and techniques used in this video, then check out our Citadel Colour Painting Essentials videos. First, we'll use Achillean Green for the skin and scales in 2 different forms. First, we'll take 1 part Achillean Green and 1 part contrast medium to cover the skin and scales. You can also use water if you don't have the medium to thin it down. Just make sure that we get it in all of the recesses, but be careful about the paint pooling too heavily. Just take a dry brush and you can soak it away. Once that's dry, we'll use it straight from the pot for the scales. This will just darken them down for the right colour that we want, and also blend nicely with the skin. A smaller brush for this is the best way to go. Next, we'll use Iron Rack Skin to paint the underside of the body. So we'll be painting on the raised areas from the chest down to the tip of the tail underside, and the soft parts of the arms. You can also use this colour to paint the teeth of the Saurus if the mouth is open. So we can keep that lovely recess colour, just paint the raised areas of the muscle and skin. You can even paint the tail in lines, so it emulates the scaly reptilian skin of the Saurus. You can always add more thinned down Achillean Green back into those recesses if you make a mistake. Now we'll apply Black Legion to the Celestite Club, shield backing and claws. You can also add some to the eye sockets and the inside of the mouth if you wish. Just be careful when applying this paint near any of the painted skin, as we don't want to make a mistake at this point. But if you do, apply Wraithbone over it and reapply the previous colours. If you want some really dark recesses on the club and the shield, just apply a second thinner coat on top. After Black Legion is completely dry, we'll dry brush the scales and the black details with Fenrisian Grey. This will act as our highlight for these details. We just want to be light with the dry brushing too, as we want to avoid a chalky finish to our models. Fenrisian Grey is a great highlight for both the blue and the black tones, and adds a slight grey tone there, making the colours seem more natural. With that dry brush finished, we can move on to painting the metallics with Skullcrusher Brass. There will be some larger areas and smaller details that need covering, so you can use a small base brush and a small layer brush depending on what's easier for those areas. We'll also want to be careful near the black details too, especially on that club and shield. You can paint over any Skullcrusher Brass with Black Legion if there is a small mistake. Now we'll apply Wordbearer's Red to the straps, ropes and grips on the shield and weapons. You can use this to paint the tongue and the sides of the mouth too. These details can be quite small and have a lot of areas around them that are already painted, so take your time and use the smallest brush you have. Next, to make our colours more lived in, we'll use Agrax Earthshade over the Skullcrusher Brass and Wordbearer's Red details. We don't want a heavy shade over these colours. If the shade has dried a little bit too heavy, you can always tidy up with the respective colours we used in that area. If you want a richer gold finish, you can always use Reichland Flesh Shade instead. And to finish off our Saurus, we'll be using Flash Skits Yellow for the eyes. As these details are so small, we'll be using our small layer brush and the smallest amount of paint on the tip. Just dot into the eye socket. It may not apply the first time. Just make sure that the paint is still wet on the brush and it should go on. Repeat the dot if you want it slightly brighter or more striking. And you can always tidy up the socket with Black Legion if you need to. You can skip this stage if you don't feel comfortable with such tiny details, as this model is looking great already. And there we are, our Saurus Warrior Alpha is complete and ready to take on the forces of the mortal realms. As you can see, I have based it in Armageddon Dunes, but you can pick whatever colour that you want. If you want to know more about basing models, check out our technical paints video all about them. For more tutorials, tips and techniques, head to citadelcolor.com, or you can also head into a Warhammer store where our friendly staff will help you out. Well, I hope you enjoyed this painting video and we'll see you next time. Bye bye!